Good day and welcome to the Business Success Network podcast.
Hello and welcome to our final episode of the BSN for Disabled Entrepreneurs podcast season 2. I'm Jo O'Neill of BrightCat Business Solutions. I am also the community leader of the BSN for Disabled Entrepreneurs Facebook group, which everyone should come and join, obviously. Today I have Tracey Lomax with me as my guest. Tracey, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
I would do. Look, it's really lovely to be here and thank you for inviting me. So Tracey Lomax, and I set up a business this year which is called Missing Spoons. It's absolutely a passion project first and foremost, and it's come out of my own lived experience. Essentially, it's taken me 48 years to decide that I wanted and needed to set up a company. So Missing Spoons is there to support anyone with chronic illness and who may or may not be neurodiverse or neurodivergent. That's the new term that I need to try and say. And so at the moment, I am a one-man band. I offer coaching support to individuals and also then talks, training, support to businesses also. So really trying to help everybody. I am also a huge advocate for the communities that I'm part of. So I work closely with charities also, and I'm the regional representative for SEDS Connective, which is a charity there for hypermobile people like myself who are also neurodivergent. So so that's kind of me in a rather large nutshell.
It's fine to have a large nutshell. It's good to do lots of different things. I'd imagine that's partly the ADHD brain of going, I want to do this as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It keeps getting bigger and bigger. And so I kind of it took me quite a while to do a business card, for example. I finally got around to doing one because every time my husband said, what do you think about this as a design? I'm like, well, I just want to kind of mention this or what about that? And so, and I've decided to run with the business cards, but there will be a follow-up very soon because, I've already decided to add things.
I work with a couple of clients who've got ADHD. I fully understand.
We are fun. No, absolutely. So, and I'm really glad you've gone on the good side of it because there's so much stuff out there all the time about the bad side. But we're hugely creative. We have literally 1,000 thoughts a day. Minds do not stop. So we are massively represented in the entrepreneurial community. I'm guessing a few or many of the people that are in the community in Facebook are neurodivergent, whether they know it or not.
There's someone diagnosed, there's someone undiagnosed.
Yeah, and there's some that just don't know, but will eventually. Because I only found out last year at 48. So, and that was like literally like someone turned a light bulb on in a dark room. I had no inkling that I'm autistic, that I have ADHD, that I have dysgraphia, dyspraxia, dyslexia. So I'm kind of acquiring more labels, but we're a fun group, but we like over talking.
Yeah, that's fine. I get tired, and this week I have actually recorded like 5 of these podcasts, and it's been about pain and fatigue week. So I'm doing all right. And my husband said it was like a light bulb moment when somebody mentioned to him, he's like, you're autistic, right? A couple of years ago. He's like, am I? And he's like, yeah, you totally are. It never worked out.
Yeah, the thing is though, Jo, is like attracts like. So that's all I'm saying. I'm just hanging that in the room. We'll leave that one there. But it's if you end up coming over to the being in our big pool of fun people, then it's not a bad thing.
I'm pretty sure I am. I just don't quite know which camp. Don't really mind either because I have found my tribe.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, it's about understanding. But I think the kind of bringing it to where I am, I found out last year. So found out I had ADHD. That's what I initially went for because I've been trying to help my son for 6 years through school unsuccessfully to get him on the pathway and diagnosed. And so that was kind of clear to me, but only last year. Actually, it was over Christmas. And then as you do, you start to look at things, or as I do, I start to read and mine and find stuff, and found myself going, when I did a few kind of online quizzes, as you do these days, the results were telling me consistently that I was autistic. And I was initially going, no, I would have known. Surely I would have, maybe. Yeah. And then everything. So sensory processing disorder. And that was a huge thing for me to realize. That made so much sense. But I also, at the same time, and I honestly don't know who turned the light on. I think it was literally a conversation with someone. And I found out essentially I had a condition called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
I know that one.
And I was wondering if you know that, because the thing is, there's a big crossover, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a pool of people that are neurodivergent, a high number of them, 40-50% maybe, are going to have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. If you have a pool of people with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a large amount of them are going to be in the neurodivergent pool, right? So there is this link, yeah? And the thing is that hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it's lifelong, and a condition whereby, because it's connective tissue is essentially everything in your body apart from bone. Hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome means that connective tissue is going to be faulty. And that won't be in the same place as the next person. It will depend on how you've used your body, how you've lived your life, and what your genetics are. So the thing is that as you go through life, if you don't know you've got hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, you're likely only to start to wonder or find out when things have gone wrong, because you've not been able to manage yourself and prevent things. Yeah. And that's what happened for me. And it doesn't come alone either, often. So most people with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, like me, have already got fibromyalgia as a diagnosis many years before. Mine was in 2015. I was diagnosed with ME in 2013. I had already picked up, as tend to do, things like general anxiety when I was 17, and I was showing significant spinal issues and osteoarthritis across my body when I was in my mid-30s. And so, but we are where we are. But the thing is that, it's not just as simple as all those things either that come with it. If you have a hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a large majority will also have something called POTS. I don't know if you've heard of POTS. Right, okay, you're doing well. I should have done a kind of like quiz here, Joe. You'd be scoring really well.
As far as I know, I don't have those, but I know what they are.
Yes, it's a game of game of bingo. But yeah, so POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Much easier to say POTS. Essentially, what it means is you have you have a problem with your orthostatic system, and that manages your blood pressure and your heart rate. If you have POTS, when you stand up, basically your body doesn't like being stood up. Yeah. Rather inconvenient for life generally, but happy when you laid down, not happy when you stood up, and for people that are extreme, not even happy if you sat up. So all of your blood runs away from the heart. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes, or stays the same, or some people goes down, but your heart rate goes up far too quickly for your heart to be able to cope with it. So, and what happens is you get a whole host of symptoms. People will either feel lightheaded, dizzy, or actually faint and black out. You get nausea, you get, then a whole load of extra stuff that comes with it that crosses into all of that same territory of fibromyalgia, actually.
There's a lot of people in the visible community that have that, which is the heart monitor I'm wearing. To help
Okay.
Which helps me see when I'm overdoing it. It shouts at me, and then I take a rest. In theory.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing is, and it's about knowledge, isn't it? If you didn't know that, you wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't be adjusting what you're doing. And so, I kind of happened upon all these things and suddenly had to go, oh, okay. Well, the first thing, I had to find lots more information to kind of consolidate and work it out, and then push for getting diagnosed. But on the other side, it was, well, what do I do with this information now? And how do I weave it in to what I'm doing in my life, which was already pretty complicated because I've got a son of 18, a daughter of 19. She's just gone to uni for her first year. She's in her second year. I have still my job, which I'm going to be trying to transition out of, dependent on things like access to work. So
access to work.
Yeah, I'd like to have a big conversation about access to work, just about access to work, Joe. Quite an expert in that now.
I'm going to have to put you a few hours in to have a chat with you afterwards.
Well, I think so, just because I suppose on reality, because what I'm doing is very much connected to people in the community. Yeah. So my business is all about, as I say, the chronically ill, and trying to help them navigate their illness with their life. But also my business is definitely and strategically called Missing Spoons, because hopefully, at least for the fibro people out there, it makes sense, because I want to give people that spoon that they didn't know they could have extra for free. That could be something really small. That could be something life-changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what
extra spoons are always good.
Exactly, yeah. and extra spoons that you don't have to work hard to find, because there's no good when you find something, but it's taken so much energy to actually find it that then, well, the some benefit is not there.
Yeah. And if you're listening and you don't know what we're talking about with spoons, go Google spoon theory. It'll make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do Google missing spoons without doing www first, then you might get some conspiracy theories about missing spoons. It is a real thing, apparently. There's a whole load of people out there that have a thing going on about how and why spoons disappear.
Okay, I know what I'm doing this evening.
So I thought I'm still going to go with it. I'm still confident that enough people will find me and not associate me with a conspiracy theory around teaspoons missing from drawers in kitchens. So,
yeah, I should hope so. Anyway, so my next question is one that we ask everybody on the BSM podcast, and no one ever gives us the same answer.
Okay.
What does business success look like to you?
Okay. Well, you're not going to get one thing from me, Joe. You know that.
You don't get one thing.
No, I think for me it is the website functioning and having people coming back and saying, thank you. I needed that information. I didn't know that was there. I've used that, and I'm in a better place now. That's definitely what I really need and want. That's probably the furthest away, actually. In the short term, it's about having been out there and spoken in businesses, raise their awareness of how many people in their businesses are chronically ill and struggling, or needing help, needing adjustments, talking about access to work, so more companies know about it and promote it, so that people don't have to work hard, or people actually know about it. And talking about going forward, a part that I'll also be talking about a lot is the menopause. Yeah. And we shouldn't be talking about the menopause in the same as an illness, because we don't talk about puberty like that. But actually the menopause is a really big thing, and we need to be talking about that in the context of the fact that you can and will be disabled and be going through the menopause, and one is not more than the other, but they are both to be considered.
Yeah, I have to do that at the moment.
It's no big thing. It goes on for a long time. Perimenopause goes on for most women about 10 years. Yeah. That is not a short thing, and it's not a smooth road. There's not enough information out there, and people don't know. You can, if like me, you can go for years having started HRT and then realize that there was a blood test that should have been done wasn't done, and I'm actually not on the right mix of HRT for me, and I've been more than 3 years, and I should have had a blood test, which I only had yesterday. So but thankfully there are other people out there like doing as you're doing for disabled entrepreneurs, and I'm trying to do for everything, really. There's people out there doing specific things, and what I want to do with Missing Spoons, when I say website function right, is have on my website people like you, everybody that's out there doing something that's helping, that I can say, here, there, go, as well as this is the massager that you should buy because I bought 10 and this is my views, or a blog on my experience about X, Y, and Z, because I live with about 30 odd different conditions, and friends, family, people I know. That then extends more and more. And chronic illness, neurodiverse, the reality of being neurodiverse and living in the world with a different brain, it doesn't just affect the individuals, it affects families, it affects, it's a network, and it goes going forward. We feed forward. So I've got 2 children. And so when I think about where I want to be, what does success look like? I want a website that when they're ready, they can go to, yeah, and they can look at, and they can get the things that they need, which go to people that exist and find out information and do it themselves without having to be a patient and wait for a magic wand that never comes. So it's all about, yes, it's all about kind of seeing what I've put into action just continue to be sustained and to grow, and to know that it's doing it. And then personally, I want to give a TED talk. So that's my, and I'm sure you're going to hear that quite a lot, but I do want to give a TED talk. And one of those TED talks that you actually find on YouTube, not a TED talk that no one ever hears about. That's the caveat, that it has to be a proper one. Yeah, and so that's really, I suppose, what success looks like. So yeah, I don't know if it answers your question that succinctly, but
yeah, I don't care about succinct. I just care about the answer. Yeah, I like that. Some of it's a personal goal, some of it's a professional one, as it were. So we've sort of touched on what are your plans for the future, but do you have any sort of big, long goals?
Well, I think for me, the two kind of meld a little bit, because at the moment, the kind of getting the website up and going is the harder part, but it should be the easiest, but it's the hardest part, because
it can be difficult.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's just I have to, like you, I'm living with this. I'm not just talking about it. So I have limited energy. I have a lot of pain. I have a huge amount of hospital appointments, doctor's appointments. So I have limited. My mind can project and I can get places and I can personally do some stuff, but I can't do everything. So I think in terms of like where I want to go further than that, or building on that, or in amongst that, is ultimately for me it's about 3 things. It's about being part of bringing about change in the NHS. So caring for people better, recognizing conditions better, bringing their guidances up to date, so getting the nice guidelines up to date or into existence for a lot of things. And so I'm doing that personally through participating in as many studies as I can. I'm constantly doing that, and I'd really urge anyone that's kind of minded in a similar way to me to actually search these things out, because you can. Often it's just a survey. It takes some time, but not a massive amount. I've just done the Future Health one, which I think in certain postcode areas they've put a letter out. I had the letter and I went and had that appointment, did that survey, and hopefully that's going to lay down some really important stuff as that goes forward. But yeah, so bringing about change in the NHS. So that's why working with charities that are lobbying for change, and also then doing things like studies myself. Then societal awareness. So yeah, that's you, that's the person I meet in the street, the conversation I have in the doctors or the chemist, as well as social media and people that I am working with, generally doing coaching with or supporting. We need people to be aware more of, aware of and kind of actively engaged in taking responsibility themselves, being accountable themselves, being advocates for themselves, to make their own lives better each day, rather than just keep waiting and waiting for something to come. Yeah, exactly, because it doesn't come, and all that happens is you suffer, and then the people around you suffer, and yeah, it can't be anything other than kind of the same or negative. So yeah, so networking, active in my community in any which way, and dropping into conversation without being that annoying person about things, and just kind of like picking up and listening to people really. And then of course business change in the world of work and employers and the way that they are working, and recognizing what people's needs are, and that can be around access to work, but it's bigger than that. It's about talking to HR professionals and business owners and trying to bring about change. So quite big aims, I think, really.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm getting feedback again. Have you moved your mic at all?
No, I haven't touched
It's fine
anything.
now. Okay, it might be where I'm sat. Okay, I'm just going to say back here, hobby games, and I like them. And I've now lost my train of thought. That happens. People on this podcast will be used to the fact that happens. What was I going to say?
Yeah, it happens. I get stuck, and I'm like, I get stuck in my words as well, and it feels like an eternity when you're doing this, Joe. When you're kind of going, I knew I had a thought, I saw that thought, and I saw it leave.
I didn't grab it enough. But that happens. But yeah, there's some really good plans for the future, and I do wish you the best of luck in that because it is important. Oh, that was it. The stat I quite like is like 25% of small business owners are disabled. And mostly those people are people who couldn't get accommodations in their workplace. So they were, all right, what can I do?
Yeah.
Or they felt they needed to be self-employed because that's the only way to work around your conditions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I always find that an interesting stat.
Yeah, it is horrendous stat, really. But I don't know whether you've come across the Lilac review. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it's still, they've published their initial report and it's still ongoing, but they're going to be doing some focus groups. So that's the Lilac review is about us. It's about disabled entrepreneurs, and there is representatives in that. One of which is for chronic illnesses. So there's a lady called Sarah Burton that I know, and I'm part of her community also which is Excel Against the Odds. And then there's other, obviously, representatives as well. So you can sign up, express an interest to be part of the focus groups. I don't know if you've done that already. I did mine reasonably recently, but I know that I think they're kind of gearing up to get going with those soon. Yeah. And there's other government consultations and things that come along. So there's the big stuff going on. But again, as you said, I think it's great that there's so many entrepreneurs that are disabled. I don't like the fact that as you said, the reality is that you can't work with business, in business, therefore you work outside of business.
It would have been better if it was their choice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, if like me, if this is a passion project, this is the thing I've kind of built, this is where I've arrived. My whole experience through my life is now kind of lended itself to doing this and will feed in 100%. I've worked in business for 30 years, and what I've been doing in business it lends itself naturally to what I'm doing, because I've been a leader, I've been a senior manager for the last 20 years. I am a consultant now. I've been a consultant for 4.5 years. So I'm lucky that what I've done and who I am kind of come together to allow me to do this. But that's not the case for everybody. A lot of people will fall out of work and then go, I need actually to live, and I don't want to just live on PIP. Probably, I mean, hats off if you actually get through PIP and you've still got some energy for life, because that's horrendous. And by the way, I've got a huge interest in PIP on a personal level and willing to help anyone with PIP. So
I'm waiting for first rejection currently.
Okay.
But we'll see. We'll see what they say when it comes back.
Yeah. So but if you are doing it, I mean, I think that's probably one of the big things though, is to be successful and to keep it going. I think you've really got to be doing something that means something to you.
I'd agree. Otherwise, it's just harder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the process is hard. It is a slog. It's harder to run your own business than it is to work for someone else. For sure.
But for your terms, I wouldn't go back.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I could, I can't, but
that's the thing is, if it means something, then you're getting something for it. When I set my business up, I said to my husband, right, okay, this is what I want to do. We're going to have to spend some money. And I said, well, okay, so we'll spend the money to set the website up. We'll give it a go. We'll give it a year. And if it all falls down and I haven't helped anyone, and therefore the business there's no purpose in the business, then we've made a nice charitable donation to Wix. But, we've tried. if it's not something that you've got kind of, why you're doing it, but also that the customer wants it. The customer has to want it. I mean, that's the other side of it is, their question's going to be, why do I need this? Yeah. Why do I need to spend my money? So you've got to have the two things of, I'm doing it because it means something, and therefore I'm able to keep getting knockbacks that it's going to give me, and the hard slog and the effort and the soul searching, that's worth it. But on the other side, if it's not what somebody wants and needs, then at the same time, it's not what they need, they're not going to buy it, a service or a product. So you've got to have the two, and they've got to balance, and that's hard.
And entrepreneur finds that balance, because it really is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you to give us a top tip to share, but I think you've just given us about 5.
I have given you quite a few. Yeah. I mean, I've got a few more if you want some more. Adapt. Cool. Just adapt over and over. If you have ADHD, you're going to do that anyway. But, adapt again and again, because what you need to do is stay connected. Don't lose yourself by just focusing. Your world can get really small because you've got this to do and that to do, and over and over again. You've got to stay connected. Don't do it on your own. Have people around you, but also go looking for people that you can learn from. So doing the same things you, similar things you, go to networking physically or online, even though it's exhausting. Choose carefully, go to good events, and leave if it's not the right event, but try to do stuff. And don't beat yourself up. That's the obvious one. I probably should say have a coach. That's probably a plug.
I agree. I couldn't do this without mine.
Yeah, I've got a business coach, but obviously I'm also a coach for people that need a coach to better understand their minds probably, and their life, and how to be different people, because it's hard being a founder of a business when you are ill, when you're disabled, because it's almost like you have to put a hat on that, and putting that hat on means suddenly you're fine, but you're not fine. So you've got to be able to understand how and when to wear the hat, and the fact that you can take it off.
Yeah, and admit to yourself when you're not fine, and it's okay to take a break.
Yeah, you're going to put your expectations on yourself, but again, you've got to, if you keep tracking back to why am I doing this, and also do the people that I'm doing for, do they want what I'm doing? And then the kind of mantras of, is it good enough? And also I heard something really interesting about half hour before I came on here. It was the growth mindset, and one of those 4 pillars to that principle is have the concept of making a mistake. They use the terminology of missed takes, as in if you think of a film production or a TV, when you're taking multiple takes, there's always going to be other opportunities. So that one opportunity, that one time didn't go right, but that's not finite. So you don't need to beat yourself up, but what you do need to do is learn, so that the next time around you cannot make the same error, you do the same thing that's going to have the same outcome.
Yeah, fabulous advice. Right, time to plug you. Where can people find you?
MissingSpoons.com is where you can find me. And if you are hypermobile, and if you are neurodivergent, there's a fantastic charity, as I said, called SEDS Connective, SEDS Connective. They're great. So that's the charity. But MissingSpoons.com is me. And if you are interested in coaching with me, then you can come up, book a half-hour free session, and we can just chat and see if I might be able to help.
Fabulous. And we'll put all those links in the show notes. Thank you again for joining me, Tracey, and thank you all for joining me for season 2 of the BSN podcast.
Thanks, Jo.
I'll put all the other links in the show notes. Please go check them all out, and I will see you again sometime soon, probably for season 3, because this ain't stopping. I've got a list. Thank you all, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks.